attention. Don't miss Barbara Clauser's Presents Myths, Miracles, and Wonders. Barbara is a holistic practitioner and a certified master hypnotherapist. She's an author, entertainer, poet, humorist, lecturer, and motivational consultant. She's on the board of the American Cancer Society, and she's doctor recommended. Barbara is known throughout the country for holistic healings and working with troubled children. Many students have increased concentration, self-confidence, and improved grades with the power of hypnosis. Many patients have stopped smoking and lost as much as 50 pounds from one powerful session. Sufferers of fibromyalgia and panic attacks have seen dramatic improvements. Visit Barbara's website at www.clauser.com. She's heard on the East Coast and the West Coast with her radio shows, and her programs can be heard all over the world on www.clauser.com.
This is Barbara Clauser, Director of the Hypnosis Clinic. If you think hypnosis won't work for weight loss, guess again. This picture of me was in a size 24, and now I am in a size 12. The power of hypnosis can erase the cravings for the fat food, the junk food, the salty food, and the greasy food, and can put you back into your control for your emotions and your feelings. This is Barbara Clauser with a Hypnosis Clinic. I'm a certified master hypnotherapist and a holistic practitioner. I'm so glad that you've joined me for my second series. We'll be doing 4 series on how hypnosis can help you in your personal life. We're going to do a segment right now for weight loss. I'm going to read a transcript for you from my radio show, and it's titled Letting Go of the Weight. So let's begin. I heard my first patient of the day softly knocking on the door of my office. I told her to come in. I began to push my reading glasses down toward the tip of my nose as I peered over them, because I couldn't help but notice that her presence almost filled the entire doorway. I invited her to come in and to take a seat from across my desk. She was overweight. Her upper lip was slightly covered with perspiration, and there was a dampness on her forehead. She wore no makeup at all, and her hair was pulled back tightly in a bun. She was wearing a large, oversized white t-shirt, black pants and thongs on her bare feet, and I couldn't help but notice that her ankles were very swollen, and her fingers, too, as well. Her gold wedding band seemed to bite into her ring finger. I told her to be very careful when she sat at the chair, because there was, rollers on it, and she could have rolled clear across my room if I didn't warn her. Ruth began to hand me her medical chart, and she blinked a little nervously. I smiled at her and said, "Well, Ruth, I'm so glad that you decided to come and see me." And she said, "Boy, I sure hope you can help me. I've been fighting this weight problem for over 20 years, and I've tried every single diet out there. I lose the weight, and then I gain it all back when the diet is over." And I asked, "Do you know what you weigh right now?" And she answered, "Yes, 285 pounds. And I asked her how tall she was, and she said she was 5'6". And I told her, "You know you have a very lethal combination." And she replied, "That's why I'm here." Ruth sat for me at my desk with a hopeful look on her face, and I smiled at her, and I said, "I hope you will allow me to be very candid with you." And I shared, "I want you to know that I lost over 12 dress sizes and over 100 pounds myself, Ruth. I used to wear a size 24. And I began to show her that picture that I showed you a few moments ago of me being grossly overweight. I told her I was on the merry-go-round of life, so to speak. And I explained to Ruth, even though I was smiling, that my heart was truly breaking inside at the time. You see, I used food to nurture myself because things in my past, I couldn't process them. I had kind of a delicate childhood, so to speak. And I tried to heal myself with food, or so I thought. So I turned for hypnosis for help, and I lost all the weight and kept it off with my very own program. And she says, "Wow, that's wonderful. You sure look great." And I said, "Thank you very much." I began to put the picture away of myself, and I turned back to Ruth, and I said, "Ruth, what do you need to let go of?" And she replied, "Aren't you even going to ask me what I've been eating and stuff?" And I told her no. And I explained that when any patient of mine needs to lose over 50 pounds, I found that it's not so much a food issue as an issue. And it had to do with inner child healing. And again I repeated, "What do you need to let go of?" She began to look around the room. Her eyes darted sideways and her brow wrinkled slightly in deep thought. And she said, "Well, I'm pretty angry." And I asked her who she was angry with, and she said, "Everybody." And I said, "Everybody?" And she repeated, "Everybody." I said, "Well, why don't you tell me about it?" And she said, "I hate my brothers and my sisters. I hate my husband and my kids. They're driving me crazy." And I asked her how long she'd been feeling this way, and she told me she was feeling this way for a very, very long time. I asked her if she could recall any happy times in her life, and how sad it was that she couldn't remember any happy times. And she said, "I come from a family that was nuts. They were all nuts. Both my parents were alcoholics." And I asked her, "How did that make you feel?" And she said, "I felt so abandoned and so alone." And she said, "I felt responsible for everyone and everything around me because I was the oldest one in the family." And she was left doing everything, the cooking, the cleaning, and the caring for her younger brothers and sisters. Then I asked her how many siblings that she had, and she told me 4. She went on to explain that when they were little, they weren't too bad. But when they became teenagers, they wouldn't mind her at all. And they used to get in terrible fights. And I asked her if she still had contact with them in her adult life. And she told me that she did not. And that both her parents had drank themselves into an early grave. And I asked her about her husband, and she said, "Oh, he's disgusted with me too. He hardly comes home at night at all. I really think he'd rather be with someone else than with me. And quite frankly, I don't blame him." I asked her why, and she said, "Well, I guess it's because I'm in such a lousy mood all the time. I can't stand the way I look or the way I feel. And I hate looking in the mirror." And she went on to say, "All I want to do is eat. It's like I can't get enough food in me. When I'm eating breakfast, I'm thinking about a snack. When I'm eating the snack, I'm thinking about lunch. And when I'm thinking about lunch, I'm thinking about dinner. And it goes on and on and on. All I want to do is just eat." Oh, I could see the frustration in her face and the tears in her eyes as she said, "I feel like I have a great big hole in the center of my stomach. And no matter what I do, I just can't get filled up." And I asked her if she knew why she felt this way, and she told me no. And I explained to her that she was trying to fill herself up with love and nurturing, all the things that she didn't have as a young child. I told her that she felt unloved. But bread and cake and pastries and highly refined foods and lots of sugars and sweets were a comfort food for her right now, even though they were definitely the wrong choices. I told her that she was trying to sweeten up her sour notes in life, so to speak. And these comfort foods that she was using were putting on pockets of body fat all over her body. Now that I had established a cause for Ruth's weight problem, I told her that the first thing I was going to do for her was not to put her on a diet. I explained that a diet would cause deprivation, the lack of. I told her that I was going to have her eat Heart Smart, as I'm on the board of directors for the American Cancer Society, and she would be eating from their guidelines, Simply Good Nutrition. Grains, pastas, fresh fruits and vegetables, and lean cuts of poultry and fish, the things that we're supposed to be eating anyway. And And I told her that with the power of hypnosis, I could erase all the cravings for the wrong choices of food, the junk foods and the fast foods, the salty foods and the greasy foods. And I told her that if she was truly motivated, that I could do this for her. I asked how this sounded, and she was nodding up and down in agreement. I could see more hope shining from Ruth's face as we talked on. And I told her, Ruth, before we do this, it's very important that you get rid of that anger that you're feeling towards your parents and your brothers and your sisters. Also, you must let go of that resentment that you feel towards your husband. And unless you can do this, your fat will stubbornly stay on your frame. And I'm sure you must be tired of carrying around all this anger. Do you understand? And she told me she did. I told her that I could help her with the power of hypnosis to erase that resentment and all that emotional upset from her present and her past. I told her that she needed to let go of her parents so they could continue to move on to their spiritual growth. I explained to her that whatever she was holding on to would stick to her like glue in a sludge, holding her back and weighing her down and keeping her stuck right there, weight-wise, spiritual-wise, and emotional. I told her that it was very important to make up with her brothers and sisters, and she needed to forgive them at a very deep, deep level. And she said, to tell you the truth, I really have been lonely. But I wouldn't admit that to anyone but you, Barbara. I've been so isolated for so very long. They called me many times, but I refused stubbornly in the past to speak to them. But I guess it's time for me to take the first step, huh? And I agreed. I told her that was all up to her, and that with the power of hypnosis, she was going to lose this weight and keep it off once and for all. And that she was going to find herself feeling much more calmer and more understanding and more compassionate, even with her own children. And she said, I'm so ready to get on with my life. I need to get rid of this rage and this anger and lose this weight once and for all. So I told Ruth to lie down on the sofa, and I asked her to gaze at a beautiful object in the room. And upon my instruction, she closed her eyes, and I began to hypnotize her. And I placed her into a very deep state of relaxation. And she was so eager for this healing to take place. And I began to place into her subconscious mind all of the positive statements for permanent weight loss. Number 1, I instructed her metabolism to increase 12% higher, to begin to get rid of pockets of body fat that she no longer wanted or needed or would tolerate. And I told her that her physical being no longer needs or wants or would tolerate any wrong choices of food, such as junk food, salty food, fast foods, greasy foods. And I told her that her subconscious mind accepted these post-hypnotic suggestions for permanent change. Soon the session was over. And she sat up and she said, oh my, what a marvelous experience. I feel so calm and so peaceful, so safe and so relaxed.